Thank you for joining me again for another review of a topic we've covered recently. We're going to go over equations and review for that quiz you have coming up. I want to make sure that you're very well prepared, so please use this resource as many times as you need to. Watch it over and over again, rework the problems. Some of you say you don't know how to study for a math quiz. Well, if you just practice problems over and over, that will help you. So we're going to get started, but let me start by saying I forgot the iPad at school, so I don't even have that resource. I'm going to write everything using the mouse, so you might hear a faint click in the background. Try to ignore it. Also, as you can tell, I'm still getting over that cold. My voice is getting back, but I still get random cough attacks, so I hopefully will not have that happen in the middle of this presentation, but there's your warnings. Here we go. We're going to talk about all the different types of equations that we've discussed so far. They are one-step, two-step, multi-step, variables on both sides, no solution, infinite solution, and all of these will be on your quiz. So make sure you're comfortable with each one. Things to remember, your goal is always to isolate the variable, which means you're trying to get the variable alone. You do that by using inverse operations. Remember, inverse means opposite. So we're going to jump in with one and two-step equations. And you see on the left we have x over 3 equals 6, which means it's a one-step equation, so I only have to do one thing. I'm trying to isolate the x. I'm trying to get that x by itself, so I have to move everything else that's with it to the other side. And when I say other side, I mean other side of the equal sign. Some of you like to draw a line, the worst line ever, down to separate the problem, and that's fine. That's a great technique because then you know you're trying to move everything to the other side of the line. So if it says x over 3, that over line really means divide, so I have to do the opposite to cancel out that 3 and move it. So the opposite of divide is multiply. Remember that equations are like balances and you have to do the same thing on both sides. So when I multiplied by 3 on the left, I also had to multiply by 3 on the right. So that gave me x over here, and then 6 times 3 is 18. So there's my answer. And what I love about equations and what I really hope you do in your quiz is you take every answer you get and you plug it back in. Because if I do 18 divided by 3, I get 6, so I know I did it correctly. On this one, it's two-step equations, so this time I need to see, well, what can I move to get this x by itself? What we need to remember is I cannot move what is attached to the variable. I always have to move what's farthest away. So again, go ahead and draw that line if that helps you. I'm not going to move the 13 because it's already on the other side of the line, so that's good. I just need to deal with the 2 and the 7. The 7 is farthest away, so I would do plus 2 because it says minus 2, and that's the opposite. Again, whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Those cancel out because negative 7 plus 7 is 0, so it's gone. That leaves me with 2x equals 20. Then you're going to take that and get rid of the 2, and you know that 2x, when you can't see a sign, means multiply, so you're going to divide. I divide both sides by 2. 2 times 2 is 1, so that, or 2 divided by 2, I'm sorry, is 1, so that leaves me my 1x, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. Again, I can take it and plug it in. 2 times 10 is 20, minus 7 is 13, so I know I did it right. Just as before, there are two examples right here I'd like you to try on your own. So take a moment and pause the video, try them, and then when you're ready, we'll work them out together. All right, so let's work these out and make sure you're good. Again, this is w over 3, which means w divided by 3. So just like last time, I'm going to multiply by 3 here. And what I do to one side, I do to the other, so I multiply by 3 there. That gets me w equals 27. I can take that and I can plug it back in, and 27 divided by 3 is 9, so I know I did it right. On this one, this is a little bit different. I have t over 2 plus 7 equals 15, so if I draw my line, I'm not good at drawing lines, you will see where you're trying to get everything. You're trying to get the 2 and the 7 to the opposite side. The 15 I don't need to move over because it's already on the other side of the line. The 2 is closest to the t, so I'm going to leave it alone. I need to do minus 7 to move it. 15 minus 7 is 8, so I'll be left with t over 2 equals 8. Remember, this line again means divide, so I'm going to multiply. I multiply by 2 there, it goes away. I multiply by 2 here, and t equals 18. I'm sorry, 16. There we go. So 16 goes back. If I plug it in, 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 8 plus 7 is 15. So I did it right. Hopefully you got both of those answers and you feel pretty good about that. So let's check the next type. The next type is multi-step equations. So when you look at this one, you might get a little overwhelmed, but just take it piece by piece. Just focus on this part first. You know what this means. If I have a number hanging out and then parentheses, I need to distribute. And remember, distribute means to give out. So I've told you before that it's a great idea to draw these arrows because it helps you. And when you distribute, you use the operation. The operation that glues these two together, this 2 and this whole parenthesis, is multiplication. So we're going to do 2 times x, which is just 2x, and then 2 times negative 7. Notice I said negative 7 because we've been focusing on the fact that a minus and a negative are the same thing. Then I do the same here. I'm going to take this and carry it over. And I made up this problem on purpose, including this right here. Reason being is because you keep forgetting it. This minus 3 right here is really a negative 3. You always grab the sign in front. So when I distribute, I don't just take the 3 through, I take the negative 3. So that becomes negative 3x minus 6 equals negative 10. So I did the first step of this multi-step equation. Then the next thing I would do is I would look to see if I can combine like terms. You have to remember with the equations, there's a lot of next steps you can take, and my next step and your next step may not be the same. You might start moving things over earlier than I would, and that's fine. I just try to condense as much as I can so there's less stuff. So if I look at the x's, I have 2x here, and I have minus 3x there. Remember I told you before we want to circle things, and you always grab the sign in the front. When I combine like terms, I do exactly what it says. So 2x minus 3x is negative 1x. And that would leave me with negative 14 minus 6, which is negative 20. Remember, same sign, add and keep. That gets me my negative 10 that's over here. So now I have a much nicer looking problem. It looks like a two-step equation, so I would move this 20 by doing the opposite. So I'm going to add 20. I'm also going to add 20 over here, and before I do that, I need to think about what it's asking me. And I need to remember my integer rules. Negative 10 plus 20 is a positive 10 because they're different signs, so I subtract the two values and keep the sign of the bigger one, which is the positive. Over here, I did not cross this out, so I bring it down. Negative 1x equals 10. I still have this negative 1 I need to deal with, so I'm going to divide it out. If you divide by negative 1 here, you divide by negative 1 here. That gets me x equals negative 10. And I can take my answer and plug it in. I'd work it out here. Negative 10 minus 7 is negative 17 times 2. And I move it here also, and when you work it all out, you'll get negative 10. Due to time, I'm not going to do that because I want to make sure I get through all the examples. So here you have two that I want you to try on your own. So again, pause the video and try them, and when you're ready, we'll work them out together. So let's look at this first one. This is a little bit different, but still similar because I have that 2h up here. So this is going to take me a couple steps. I have minus 9 equals negative 19. If you draw your line, I'm trying to get rid of a 2, a 5, and a 9. The thing that is farthest away is that 9, so I'm going to do plus 9. So now I have 2h all over 5 equals negative 10. I'm trying to make this handwriting not look so horrible, but as you can tell, it's kind of a lost cause. So now I've got this 2 and this 5, and we've dealt with problems like this, and I hope you remember that you need to get rid of the 5 first, because the 2 is technically closer, and you're getting rid of the farthest piece first. So that gets me 2h equals negative 50. And then I would divide by 2 on both sides, which gets me h equals negative 25. Again, I can plug it in and check it, and I would suggest that you do that. Do 2 times negative 25, get an answer, divided by 5, get an answer, subtract 9, and your answer should be negative 19. Here you're distributing. Again, there's a negative sign. You have to watch for it. Please notice I can't do 7c minus 3, first of all, because the 3 is attached to all this, and secondly, because they're not the same thing. But the big reason is the fact that the -3 is attached to this whole thing, so it belongs to it. So I will keep the 7c here, there's nothing I can do with it, and then I would distribute. So -3 times c is -3c, and please remember a negative times a negative is a positive, which should get me positive 12. Now when I work this out, I can combine these right here. I always try to combine like terms whenever I can. 7 minus 3 is 4, so that gets me 4c plus 12 equals 8. You can subtract 12 next from both sides. (4c) now equals -4. Remember your integer rules. I would then divide by 4 on both sides, and I get c to equal -1. Again, I suggest you take your answers and you plug them in to make sure they work. So I'd plug it in here, do 7 times -1, get an answer. Plug it in here, -1 minus 4 is -5. Times that by 3, subtract the two things, and you should get 8. Variables on both sides. This is the next thing we need to talk about. So if you look at this one, you'll see that you need to distribute here. That gets me 5x plus 25. I'm sorry, plus 35. And then if you pay attention, you need to do the same thing on the other side. When you have variables on both sides, don't get overwhelmed with this. Just take each side and work as much as you can on one side and then do the same on the other. So I went ahead and distributed over here first, and that's all I can do. And then I went ahead and distributed here, and that's all I can do. Now I have things on opposite sides. So you watched another video where the teacher said that you want a variable side and you want a constant side. To have a variable side, you pick one. You're either going to move the 5x over or the 6x over. I'm going to move the 5x over, so I subtract 5x here, subtract 5x here. You might be able to hear my child crying in the background. He just woke up from a nap, so I'm going to try to speed this up. 35 equals x minus 30. I'm then going to add the 30 over from here to get to my constant side. That will go away, and it leaves me 65 equals x. Again, you can plug them in. I plug 65 plus 7, get an answer, times it by 5, get a new answer, and I want that to equal the same thing over here. So go ahead and try it with this one. All right, hopefully you did this first, and you did not add 16 and 3. If you added 16 and 3, remember that 3 is attached to the 5s. So I have this all worked out here. I feel like my handwriting is getting even worse as I'm now kind of rushing. I'm going to then look on this side, and I can combine like terms. So I have 16 plus 12, which means my 22s, I haven't done anything with it yet, and that's okay. And 16 plus 12 is 28 plus 15s. Now I have s's here and here. If I move the 22s over here, I will have nothing left on this side. So I want to move the 15 over. That leaves me 7s equals 28. You divide by 7 and you get s equals 4. Okay, we've got to speed this up. This is the last part. You have no solution versus infinite solution. No solution and infinite solution only occur if your variables disappear. If they don't disappear, you will have an answer. So I'm going to look at this. I have 2x plus 2x, which is 4x, plus 2 equals 4x plus 2. Hopefully you're seeing something here. These are the same, but if you didn't see that, you'd subtract your 4x here. Do the same on the other side, and they cancel out. When they cancel out, what is left is 2 equals 2. Because that is a true statement, this is an infinitely many solutions. This one, you add them together, you get 3x plus 7 equals 3x minus 7. Again, the 3x's will cancel out, which gets me 7 equals negative 7. This is not a true statement, so this is no solution, which I'm going to abbreviate because I've got about 30 seconds left. Please try these two. Because I only have a few seconds left, I worked this out. If you'll see, these cancel out, so negative 13 equals 11. That's not true, so it's no solution. This one, when I work it out, I have the same thing on both sides, so the x's cancel, so this would be infinite. The last thing I'm going to show you is just a reminder, so please remember that these are the steps you want to take, and good luck.